The end of the interview I did on general Israeli travel, and we're going to just talk a little bit more about some ideas for some itineraries. We found out that 3 days isn't long enough, we need more. Then after that, I'm going to play a short part of the interview I did on Jaffa, so you can get a bit more of a feel about this particular part of the world and why you should visit there. But anyway, let's get on and find out more about these, how many days we should spend in Israel and what we can see and do when we get there. Okay, 3 days really isn't long enough. So what if I had a family of teenagers
the thing is,
for 10 days?
A family of teenagers, base yourself in Tel Aviv.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely base yourself in Tel Aviv. Even with kids, that Tel Aviv offers, because not only that, you can make, I love it, because you can make children learn and they don't think they're learning, they're just having a good time. But you've always got the fantastic beach to rely on with children.
Mm-hmm.
And the beach, the one great thing is there's playgrounds along the whole coastline. You know, you walk to one playground and then you can walk to the next playground, and it's a great place for that. Teenagers, they will enjoy the vibe, they will enjoy the liberal atmosphere that it has. And you'll be able to take them places and then let them go chill out at the beach and then take them to see something else and let them chill out at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So it really offers a lot for families.
Okay. Give them some education, then beach education.
Yeah. You have to offer them. You have to enrich their minds and then give them some fun. But you also have to understand that for families, oh my goodness, there's so much. There's a lot of sites that are geared towards families. There's zoos all over the place. There are amusement parks right outside of Tel Aviv. There's a place called the Luna Park. Mm-hmm. But there's little amusement parks all over the place. You can take them someplace where they can go zip lining and go-kart racing, and you can even go whitewater rafting in the north. The Jordan River, for a lot of time of the year, you will actually get little rapids, so it's a real nice, chilled out, but riding the rapids type thing. So, I mean, there's so many different things. And then you make them learn something in between.
You've already mentioned a website for B&Bs, zimmer.co.il, I think you said.
Yes.
But is Israel a place you can book direct, or you're better off going with a tour operator, travel agent, or does it just depend on what you want to do?
Now, if you've been loads of times, you'll find a lot of people book direct. Mm-hmm. But considering the quality of the tour operators that we have recruited, especially over the last couple of years, it is worth talking to a tour operator. You'll find that most of them will have a really good grasp of what's going on. And especially for your first visit, if it is a first time, it's nice to have that knowledge, because you'll be able to go and you'll be able to tell them that they've got, you want to go at this time of year. You want to, if you've got this particular interest, they'll be able to tell you, well, if you've got an interest in this, you can go to this area. So I would say, especially until you are an expert, the tour operators are just amazing, and it's very easy to book through them. And there's lots of different tour operators. In fact, I'm going to give you my website, well, not my website, but the Israel Government Tourist Office website, because there is an actual section there called Planning Your Trip, and it actually has a Find a Tour Operator section, and it lists all the various tour operators, and it also lists the types of holidays that they sell. So it's really good for, it's a nice little tool to help you find the right company for the type of holiday you want to do. Now, our website is thinkisrael.com, and in the Find a Tour Operator section, you'll find that under Planning Your Trip. And you can review all the different companies. It tells you what they do, and it gives you the contact details. You can use a link to their website. It gives you the telephone number. So you can actually do some research and find out which is the best for the type of holiday you'd like to do.
So it's thinkisrael.com.
Thinkisrael.com, yeah.
It's nice and easy to remember. Okay, thanks, Michelle. Thank you for your time. You're definitely very passionate about this destination, and I really need to pop over there myself now. That's another one on my bucket list.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I have fallen in love with the country, seriously. If you had told me 5 years ago when I started working there that I was going to develop this incredible passion for the country, I would have told you you were crazy. But it less than a week of research, and I was like, wow, this place is something that I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad And that's exactly what I want to do because it is just an amazing place, and I hope people go visit.
You can follow me on Twitter at holiday_hut. I'm finishing off this Israel special by playing a little bit about the interview I did with Michelle just on Jaffa. And on the Facebook page, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, I'll have a link to the show so you can find out everything that Michelle shared about this place. And I suppose you're wondering where it is, and that's the first thing we're going to cover. Where is Jaffa?
Well, Jaffa is actually the original port city on the Mediterranean. It is located just south of Tel Aviv, but you kind of almost have to think of Jaffa and Tel Aviv as one and the same. The best way to describe this is the fact that you can actually walk from Tel Aviv to Jaffa, which is pretty close. So, but it's right on the Mediterranean coast, and it's really conveniently located because you've got the newer part of the city, which is Tel Aviv, and then you've got the older part, which is Jaffa. Yeah. And it's only about 20 minutes away from the airport.
It's quite close then.
Yes, very convenient to get to.
Although I wouldn't walk because I'm lazy. I'll probably get a cab.
If you saw me, you would be amazed at how much you end up walking when you're in Tel Aviv. I am not what you call a fit individual, but when you get there, it is so tempting to walk through the streets. I was really surprised my first visit at how much I was willing to walk, only because it's so built up for it.
Well, maybe I will then, but probably not. It's just been, there's been some restoration and some it's been developed. How long did it take and how much was spent?
Well, now, the amount of money, I can honestly say I have no idea, but I can guarantee you it's been a lot. What had happened was in the 70s and 80s, it was just a rundown area. There wasn't a lot there. All the old buildings were falling apart. And what happened was, and I think it was end of 80s, beginning of the 90s, where all of a sudden the artists decided, hey, this space looks really good for us. So they started basically buying and restoring the buildings. And once that started, it's been a continual process, and it's always developing more. So what used to be a very rundown area that nobody wanted to live in is now a very popular area. Beautifully restored houses, and a lot of work, and it's an ongoing thing. First of all, because of all the history, you'll always find some sort of archaeological dig in the area. But as far as people living there, they're constantly refurbishing and making it better. But the wonderful thing about it is the fact that because they were artists and they appreciated the original architecture, they haven't done a lot of modernization. As in the concept, what they've done is they've taken what they've got and just made it beautiful again.
That's good to hear. I hate it when old buildings get knocked down for no reason.
Oh, no. Seriously, when you're walking around there and you're walking through the alleys and going through all the shops and things like that, you honestly feel like you would have probably back, 100 years ago. It is just beautiful the way they've done it.
I had a feeling like that in the Caribbean and the Virgin Islands a few years ago. I was looking across to the other island thinking this view probably hasn't changed for 200 years because there's no lights and everything. It was just
perfect.
You just feel part of the place then, don't you?
That's kind of what it is, though, too. And what also makes it so interesting is the fact that you've got Jaffa, which really does feel, beautiful and ancient, and cobblestoned alleys, and all the brickwork, and all the the domes for a lot of you have a lot of domes when you're there, and they will create little glass blocks so people can actually get the natural light in the buildings, but with all the old of Jaffa, you've got all the new of Tel Aviv. So it just makes it such a nice, juxtaposition of, do you want to feel older today or do you want to be more modern today? So you've got a lot of options when you're walking around that area.
You briefly mentioned that there's a lot of history there. I had a very long question, which I'm not going to ask now because it's far too long. But is it possible to condense the history into a small chunk? And what I really want to know is, did Jonah really leave the port?
Well, I will not be the one to say, oh, most definitely Jonah left the port. About the whole whale thing, it all depends on what your faith is and how much you believe in the Bible. But most definitely, God had called on Jonah to take up something, and I really apologize. This is not my real specialty of knowing these stories. But Jonah definitely did leave from that port, and the whole story is based from the port of Jaffa. But history, I mean, it's been through all these different segments. It is one of the oldest ports on the Mediterranean. And not only that, you've got, Napoleon conquered the area. So it's, all the history is through years and years and years. And the one thing I like to recommend is if somebody does go, there are free walking tours in the area. You can actually also get a special app that when you're walking around the area, you've got the little symbol, and you just click on the app, and it actually tells you the history of what you're looking at. But nothing can beat a trip around with a really good tour guide that knows the history. I wish I remembered the name of the gentleman that I had, because he was incredible. When you walk around with somebody who knows what they're talking about, they can show you all the different places, explain what happened. It is really fascinating.
Yeah, when I did the research for the interview, there was just so much history coming out. And it's not my religion either, but I think, oh yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
But the wonderful thing is the fact that a lot of the biblical history, even though it's in the Bible, it is, you can not only look at it as a faith event, but you can also look at it as a historical event. So it is, I mean, like I said, you can easily, if you were with somebody who actually knew the history of the area, you could be walking around Jaffa for, 2 days and not hear all the history. It is quite extensive.
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. As I mentioned, the rest of the interview could be found by clicking on a link that's going to be at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Not only does the link take you to a show where Michelle talks about Jaffa and you hear the whole interview, there's a consumer expert on the show as well, so you can find out about that as well. It's a weird show because of the outage with BT. It really messed my day and evening up. So there's no travel news this week, but next week back to normal if BT doesn't go down again. If there's anything you'd like to know about travel, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show is the place to post your question. And I'll get somebody on to talk about the answer or find out the answer or get the answer to you somehow. And as I mentioned, I will be posting links at the page as well. So every time I have somebody on the show, after every show, the Facebook page has a link to the podcast and links of all the websites that are mentioned during the show, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. I'll try and make life as easy for you as possible, although you might find it difficult to spell Guinn. So if you try and find the John Guinn Travel Show on Facebook, you may not find it, but Guinn is spelled Guinn. Why is it spelled like that? No idea. It just is. I've got a cousin. She had so many problems. She's an actress. So many problems. She actually changed her name to Guinness because she finally found out people can spell Guinness but not Guinn. But anyway, I'm not going to do that. So the John Guinn Travel Show on the Facebook is where you find all the links to the show and where you can post questions. And I do hope you can join me next week on the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.